Fourth quarter unemployment set to be released later on today. In the third quarter, we saw an unemployment rate of 25.3%. That ticked up slightly from the second quarter, but that's pretty much in line with what we saw on the growth front. And growth is expected to have looked better in the fourth quarter last year as well. So does this spell the fact that we could see a slightly softer unemployment number in South Africa?
Morning, Eleni. Well, that would certainly be what we're looking for, and I think what most people would be hoping for. As you mentioned, growth slowed down in the third quarter. It was 2.8% quarter-on-quarter annualized figure in the second quarter, and slowed to 2.6% quite unexpectedly in the third quarter. And so it wasn't altogether surprising that we saw that increase in the unemployment rate in the quarter. However, as you mentioned, lots of shorter-term indices, such as manufacturing and mining, we've seen strong rebounds in that number, and that leads us to believe that quarter four was in fact quite a strong quarter as far as economic growth is concerned. And so in line with that view, we would also be hoping and expecting to see a moderation in the unemployment rate.
Well, Nomvuyo, I mean, when you look at the PMI index that was released a short while ago as well, one of the big issues that is still in negative territory, so in other words, below 50, which shows a contraction, is unemployment. Could that perhaps signal that we're still not making headway on the employment front?
Well, it certainly is a risk factor, Eleni. I mean, you have to remember that generally the labour market tends to lag upswings in the business cycle. So in fact, you could have economic growth starting to pick up quite nicely and only see a reaction in the labour market much later. So that certainly is a risk to the forecast. In addition to that, you could also have a situation where discouraged work seekers actually come back into the unemployed category. Discouraged work seekers are generally excluded from the count of the unemployed because they're people who have given up looking for work, and to be unemployed you have to be actively searching for work. So as soon as you see, as soon as there's evidence on the ground that jobs are being created, you could in fact see an increase in the number of discouraged workers who then start to look for jobs and then become counted as unemployed as well. And then that sometimes, and has in the past, interfered with that unemployment rate, and you have this interesting anomaly where the unemployment rate actually ticks up because people are coming back into the coming back into the labour force and starting to look for work. So certainly there are lots of risks to the forecast for this unemployment rate, but the base case would be that the unemployment rate declined in line with an uptick in economic activity.
Nomvuyo, you've also heard a lot of economists out there saying that perhaps the official unemployment rate is above 25%. Some say it could be closer to 40%. In the backdrop of this, we've got the State of the Nation address on Thursday, so everyone will be looking to President Jacob Zuma for some answers in terms of how they're going to tackle unemployment in the country. Anything in particular that you are going to be focusing on that will be quite telling and market moving?
Well, no, we certainly haven't had any advance warning of any major surprises in the State of the Nation address. But of course, the unemployment issue remains one of the key issues in South Africa on both the economic and political front. So we would certainly be expecting the President to make some mention of this. We saw the new growth plan that was unveiled late last year by the economic cluster, and the goal in terms of that plan was to reduce the unemployment rate by 10 percentage points, and that would be over the next 5 years. And so certainly we'd be hoping to see some greater clarity or more detail on how exactly government plans to make this plan work, because certainly we would need to see quite a significant move in the unemployment rate. It's been hovering around 25–24% for some time.
Nomvuyo, touching on the rand, we had reserves out, gross reserves increasing by $1.6 billion in January, and we had currency reserves increasing by $1.9 billion in January as well. Looking at the local currency, we've seen quite a bit of volatility, but we are starting to see rand strength coming to the fore after weakening significantly last week.
Certainly, Eleni. Well, I wouldn't say that the new trend of rand strength is something that's going to be sustained. We saw the rand strengthen yesterday after that reserves news came out quite unexpectedly, but then weaken during the day as the dollar strengthened. So at this point, it still seems that the rand is taking its cue mostly from international developments. There could be some reaction to today's unemployment data. There could also be some reaction later in the week to the State of the Nation address. We also have mining and manufacturing numbers out. So those could potentially be market moving. But as far as the shorter term is today and tomorrow, we still see the rand kind of stuck and trading in a range of 720 to 730.